Thank you so much for having me. So we'll talk about the state of private voting. It's a report I made for Molokdao, and I think it's an important topic. So we'll talk about, why private voting is important, and try to establish a common glossary so we can agree on the definitions. We'll see for every scheme I'm going through, we'll see some futures and a score on a matrix, which I hope to make it easy for developers that want to integrate these privacy schemes. Ideally, at the end of this talk, you should know which protocol serves you best and what you can use if you ever need to do private voting. I'm not a cryptographer, so the goal of this talk is to make it easy for people to have a view of what's the landscape. Privacy is being eroded slowly and slowly. This is a quote from Star Wars. The Empire has been choking us so slowly, we're starting not to notice. I think that's happening with privacy worldwide. No, we saw it with the Patriot Act in the US at the start of this millennium. We saw that a few months ago in the UK under pretense of child abuse protection, effectively outlawing privacy. And we see it all over the world, right? It's not only Iran or China, but privacy being eroded in Turkey, in Greece, Hungary, in Russia, everywhere. So I think this is very important. So the glossary, a vote is just a signal about something. Metadata is a byproduct of voting, such as an IP. The tallying authority is the agent, the person that will tally the votes. A relay is an agent or a system that protects those metadata by relaying the votes instead of the user. When we say trusted or untrusted setup, what we mean is whether there is EK behind it to require the trusted or untrusted setup. A briber is an agent that wants to bribe users, so users will prove that they voted for something in exchange for some financial reward. And when we talk about data availability, we mean how the data will be available. I'm going a bit quickly because there's so many things to unpack. The scores will be looking at its privacy, censorship resistance, implementation complexity, implementation maturity, ease of use and ease of integration, hardware requirements, and the anonymity set. 5 is good, 1 is the worst. We'll try to score them. And the features we will be looking at is both privacy, voter privacy, metadata privacy, tallying privacy, ideally no trusted setup. I think that's a feature to not require a trusted setup, briber protection, whether the scheme can protect against bribers, and liveness assumption, whether the vote can be held or not. So let's start to discuss about private voting on Ethereum. The first protocol I took a look at was obviously Maki. It's designed to protect against bribery attacks. So basically, it's very simple, really. Users sign up to vote. There's some kind of a gateway. When they vote, they encrypt their vote, and they send it, and they submit it to the smart contract, and they encrypt it so only a coordinator, a trusted party, can decrypt it. Users can either encrypt a vote or encrypt a command to the tallying authority that they want to change the private key. So with this scheme, basically, it's impossible for a voter to prove that they voted for something, because if they vote for something, then they change their private key and they vote for something else. The second vote is which will be tallied, right? So it's impossible for them to prove what they voted for, and that's by design. And then at the end, the trusted authority will produce a ZK proof that indeed it tallied the votes correctly, right? And the coordinator announced the results. For privacy, we give it 3 out of 5 because the trusted coordinator can see the votes. We give a very good censorship resistance because it uses smart contracts. Implementation complexity, it's not very complex, really. It's quite mature. Ease of use, it's not super simple to use. There's not a lot of abstractions, but there are some. Ease of integration, it's really not very easy to integrate, I guess, because a lot of things are not abstracted from the developers, so they must understand how Mikey works or some cryptography. It's very simple hardware-wise, and the anonymity set is basically all the people that registered. So it's somewhere in the middle. So as we said, we have vote privacy, we have voter privacy, metadata privacy. We don't have relayers out of scope. We don't have talent privacy, unfortunately. We have a trusted setup. We have bribery protection, and this is one of the few schemes that did that. And we have a liveness assumption because the coordinator can't hold the protocol. If you want to integrate, you should read the smart contracts, read the integration guide, and then you will use the CLI that's being provided, or you will integrate it in your program. Now we've got the semaphore. So a semaphore really is just a proof, a ZK proof for Merkle tree, a membership really. So the user signups to the group. The group is updated with a new root on every signup, and then they can prove, when they submit a vote, they submit also a proof that they are indeed part of that Merkle tree. Right. So privacy, it's very good. It's only the voters are encrypted. Censorship resistant, use smart contracts, so it's great. Implementation, complex and maturity is one of the most mature protocols out there, so it's very easy to use and very easy to integrate. You don't need to understand any of the cryptography. It's very nicely abstracted. It's very easy on the hardware side. And the anonymity set, of course, again, you have to be member. You have to sign up first. And then these are the features. To integrate, really, you only have to understand the identities, groups, and proofs. But the semaphore is really, really, really abstracted. So, if you're a new developer, I always suggest to use semaphore as the first kind of primitive. Then we go to something very interesting, Cicada. Basically, it doesn't provide anything but talent privacy. It's produced by 16Z, and basically every vote is encrypted as a time lock puzzle, and then the votes are combined homomorphically. So in the end, you have a single puzzle that someone has to decrypt. I would say here doesn't give anything really, but talent privacy, so that's very good. And it's very easy to integrate, it's very easy to use. And there is a censorship resistant because it's, again, based on smart contracts. What I really like about Cicada is that you can easily integrate that with another protocol. For example, they supply an example with semaphore. So I think that Cicada is something that every private voting should use in combination with something else, right? Semaphore, Plume, or Mikey, or whatever. Plume is very interesting. Basically, it's a way to deterministically create burner accounts from Ethereum addresses that are for which it's easy to create membership proofs. So the very simple way to think about Plume is that by default, it gives you the anonymity set of semaphore, because semaphore is an opt-in, but Plume is all the members, for example, all the owners of an NFT, they're automatically belong to the anonymity set, right? Well, in semaphore, they will have to sign up into a different set. It gives us very good privacy, very good censorship resistance. It's a bit more complicated than semaphore. The implementation maturity is quite good, but not as clear-cut as semaphore. It's very easy to use. There is some requirements to understand how to use it, to integrate it to your protocol. And as I said, the anonymity set is quite good because by default, it's the max from a group. Again, the same features. Votes are not encrypted. Voters are encrypted. The relay is out of scope. votes can be decrypted. It uses growth, so that's trusted. Unfortunately, users can prove vote, and vote can be held. How to integrate? It's not super easy to integrate, as I said. There is a demo you can look at. There's a MetaMask snap that is provided to interact with Plume, but it really requires another way to prove membership. The demo uses semaphore, but that doesn't really make sense. So what it really makes sense is to use storage proof, so some kind of private storage proof. So you get the full anonymity by default. That's a very interesting project by Aragon and Aztec for nouns, for private voting. Basically, the TLDR is that they use Noir to do private storage proofs of nouns holders, and then they use when you vote, you use that proof to prove that you are part of that, and another ZK proof for the vote. It's really nice from a future perspective. It's private, it's censorship resistant, but it's not easy to integrate. So it's bespoke. It's for a very specific use case. And the features, as I said, is like votes are encrypted, voter ID are encrypted, relayer is in scope. It's the only project that the relayer is in scope. Our votes are encrypted at tallying authority. It uses ultraplonk for the framework. Users can prove the vote, so it's not bribery resistance as Mikey, for example, and the vote can be halted. So it's really a very nice feature set. But the problem is, as I said, it's bespoke. It's for a very specific use case. So if you want to integrate it, you really have to understand how storage proof works. You'll have to change the circuits a bit. In Noir, and it's really it's not there yet. It's not abstracted, right? As it's not meant to be abstracted. It's a research grant for nouns, which is fair. But it's not as easy to use as Plume or Semaphore or Mikey to integrate, at least. Finally, we have the rate limiting nullifiers. What you do in essence is when you register, you generate a secret key and an identity commitment, and the scheme basically enforces you some kind of limitation. For example, 1 vote per vote. And if you do more actions that the scheme has defined, you will show basically it will make easy for others to decrypt your private key. That can be used for voting or for chats purpose or for spam protection or whatever. So it also offers that very nice privacy. It's censorship resistant because it's smart contract based. It's quite mature. It's quite easy to use. Integrating it shouldn't be too hard, I think. The cryptography is really light on the hardware, and the anonymity side is quite good. Again, it's like you have to sign up to something. And these are the features. If you see more or less all the schemes more or less fall on the same families of features, but they do it with different ways. They provide smart contracts and a Foundry template. You have to create all the voting logic yourself, and they use the RLN for the membership management and for the proof. They also have some nice libraries to integrate. So there is some work to do, but at least there's some nice abstractions about it. These were all the protocols. I pretty much ran through them because I wasn't sure I would get in time, so that's great. So we can go to the extra slides. So now we'll talk about some secondary tools that are not directly for private voting or schemes, but there could be use for that. And I think it's interesting to keep an eye on for. So RISC-0, the ZKVM, you could create a private scheme in that, a private voting protocol. Of course, it will be less efficient than the bespoke protocols I spoke about, but you could do it. Axiom is very interesting. They don't have privacy features now, but they are looking into it for the future, and I think it's something will be used to easily create storage proofs that you can later use in your private scheme, right? So you can, for example, get all the owners of an NFT without for them having to join a separate group. And then when they join, they have you do some logic to verify they are indeed the owners of the NFT. And Spiral, I never knew how to pronounce that. Basically, you can send an RPC request, and they'll do some. You can send RPC requests, and they will be able to process that without them able to see what you do, and that's very useful because when you do an RPC request to interact with a smart contract, there's a lot of metadata involved in that. So maybe the voting is private, but RPC could be an issue to that realistically. Some projects to keep an eye on. I'm very excited personally about DarkFi. It's a layer 1. They will have DAO tooling from day one. So through CLI, you will be able to do things. Obviously, it's another protocol. It's not Ethereum, etc., etc. But if you want to do private voting, you could do that there. Obviously, it enables private features. They're both in testnet, so it's something to keep an eye on from. Aztec, it's a layer 2. They want to have privacy. It's not there yet, but there are interesting things you can do with Noir, for example, as the Aragon and Aztec team did for the Nouns project I mentioned. And Zama for full homomorphic encryption on EVM, right? And I think there are some other projects in that area. But you should go to their website every once per month, basically. Thank you so much for your time. This is my social. This maybe you know me from Twitter. We can do a short Q&A. If you have any questions, I will not be able to provide cryptography-related answers. But from a user point of view or integration point of view, that's what I tried to summarize it from. Thank you.
Sweet. We have about a minute or two for questions. So if anyone has any questions for Odysseas, feel free to come up to the mics, or I can just kind of run to you and give you the mic. Sweet. Back here.
Really good summary. Thank you. If you could pick one for a DAO, which one, like obviously you go through all of the examples. What's your, off the record kind of like pick for a DAO, just a general DAO, but with a good state-of-the-art sort of voting scheme for it?
I think the biggest feature set is provided by the Aztec and Aragon Nouns project, but it will also be the hardest to do. You'll need a lot of dev work to make it work. Semaphore is the easiest, so if you just want to have something up and running in like a day or two, Semaphore is the one. Personally, I really like Loom. It's somewhere in the middle because of that difference between opt-in and basically opt-out. So if I had to do it, I would use the storage proofs from Aztec and then Plume on top. So you do private storage proofs to manage membership through some NFT you do not really care about, and then use Plume to deterministically create burner accounts on that and have people vote. I think that would be the ideal. And he's also so responsive, so I trust that it wouldn't be abandoned in 6 months or whatever.
Sweet. Thank you for the questions. I think we will give a final round of applause to Odysseas. Thank you again for presenting private voting.
Thank you so much.